Piano Tech Radio Hour. We'll let the people in the Zoom room as well. Hey everyone, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Welcome to the Zoom room. We will get started in a minute here after people get settled and have a great conversation for the day, as we typically do every Saturday here on Piano Tech Radio Hour. Let me do the intro of the program so we can get context and we'll jump right in. So, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. We gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians and Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction for piano industry masters without leaving your home. Find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And you can also subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hours for $16 a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings of over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join using the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. We've got a podcast version of the program at pianotechradio.com. We've reached top 100, top 10, even #1 status in various locales in the performing arts category in iTunes. We've got a blog you should check out on Substack. Just look up Piano Technicians Masterclasses. We give you insights into information you might find in our member area on advanced piano technology. Also, we have our socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can sign up for the email list on our website. It's pianotechniciansmasterclass.com, just your name and email. And yeah, welcome to the program for today. We'll dive in. I'd love to introduce today's guest, Dr. Rochelle Sennet. She is an internationally recognized pianist, educator, scholar, and recording artist, a professor of piano and inaugural associate dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She is celebrated for her acclaimed Bach and Black recording series, for her performances of works by J.S. Bach and Black composers, and her dedication to teaching, research, and artistic leadership. Rochelle, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour.
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me.
So I like to dive in usually with the first question and go back down memory lane and find out how you first got into music as a child or first exposure, and a little bit about how that really evolved when you first became aware, hey, I think I'm becoming a professional in this domain.
Yeah, sure. I wish I had a glamorous story. I just happened to see when I was young, a pianist on TV. I don't come from a family of classical musicians. My father was a band musician in high school, not professional. And so he was always had a love of music. But yeah, I just happened to see a pianist on TV playing with orchestra, and I just thought it looked really cool. I want to do that. And that's what set things off. So every week also I would see my what will become my first piano, who will become my first piano teacher, playing in church, playing organ. I'd look up and see her, and so then sure. So I started taking lessons with her. Her name was Hazel Rubin, and from there, a couple of years later, I started to play in church. I'd play alongside her. She'd play organ. I'd play piano, and that's how I started. Just saw it on TV, thought it looked cool. I can't hear. It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, that's really great. We see all sorts of things on TV that we think are cool, and we don't always end up getting into it. So, that's wonderful. Um, I want to get a sense of the context, geographically and socially. What area is this in Illinois? Is this some other area where you're growing up?
No, I grew up in Southeast Texas, probably
Oh, okay.
about 30, 40 miles or so away from the Louisiana border. So Southeast Texas is about an hour away
Oh,
from Houston, and that's where I grew up. The context was grew up in a, as I said, grew up in a Black Catholic church, which was unusual at the time. And so the SMI environment was, you often saw musicians that were playing without music. So I learned to read music from the moment I started. But when I would play, people would ask, because one of the things I do, I play music, chamber music, as well as solo music from memory. And that stemmed from my early years of just being that environment. And it started as I would play hymns, but then we got to playing the same songs often. So I got tired of pulling out the hymn book. So in my mind, I don't have to pull out the hymn book because it's too much trouble doing this, and I hated page turns, so I just thought, oh, I can just do this. So it
mm.
was just more of a means of survival, that just sort of practicality, and no one around me told me that memorizing chamber music or playing things from memory often was unusual. And I didn't learn that until I got to be a bit much older. But yeah, around me it was just, okay, yeah, she's playing from memory, big deal.
Does your memory ability extend to other domains, or is it more of a musical memory? Just have a
No one's
generally good
asked me that
memory?
question. Yes, I was the one that when we had to memorize Shakespeare excerpts, I just don't ask me what it means. Is what my thinking was. But oh, you want me to memorize that? I can do. Yes. So yes, no one's actually asked me that in that way. Wow. So I would say so.
How I mean, I'm sure with the memorization initially, it was kind of intuitive. You just kind of develop techniques for memorizing, but do you ever reflect on kind of what are your tricks of the trade, which kind of make memorization come more naturally?
No, no, not really. Again, it was just when you put a kid and the kid, and you don't have it show them any, oh, this is terrible. Nobody does this, and you don't put any pressure on the child, and the child
Mm,
just okay.
just happened.
All I thought was, what's the most practical way for me to not have to play the same hymns, and that was really it. But as far as tricks, are there tricks that teach to my students? Sure, of course, the usual practicing in sections.
Hmm.
But it's just if you do things over and over, it just sort of happens.
Mm,
But yes, do I strategies as far as teaching it to my students is something I learned later because yeah, it's one thing for me to do it, certain things, but then to teach it to another person, which I enjoy doing. Every student's going to be a little bit different in terms of how their mind works
let's
and how
talk
they
about the
respond to feedback.
let's talk about the journey from Texas to Illinois, or what you call
Oh,
it, Central Illinois, right?
quite a journey. So, after I left, so I received my bachelor's degree from San Francisco Conservatory of Music. So that's where I did my undergraduate. And that San Francisco, I loved very much. It opened up my world because you have people from all walks of life, different thought processes, and I loved it. And it was just so different from where I came from. And then after that, I went to University of Michigan, pursued my master's there, and also was very different. That was the first time I had been exposed to Midwest cold weather, so that was
Snow,
also
yeah.
yeah, that too. That was kind of a change. And then after that, I pursued. I wasn't quite ready to do a doctorate. In fact, I didn't want to do that initially, so I decided to do artist diploma. So I went back to Texas, but Fort Worth, Texas, Texas Christian University. So that's where I pursued my artist diploma. I was there for 4 years. And then the last year I was finishing up on my artist diploma, I took on a full-time work while I was finishing my diploma as a full-time choral accompanist for a school district about 30 miles outside of Fort Worth. And that was not my calling. And that's what made me say, I want my doctorate now. So I auditioned, and I ended up here as in Central Illinois in 2005 as a student,
Okay.
and then I received my doctorate in 3 years, 2008, and I have been here ever since. I was hired to be on the faculty just after I graduated with my doctorate.
Oh, I
And that
see.
is what led me to, so I came here initially to study with my teacher at the time, Ian Hobson. And so that's what brought me to, who brought essentially how I got to Central Illinois. It was Ian Hobson. And I stayed and I haven't left. And so that's been how I got all the way from Texas to here. And
Okay.
I've just finished my 18th year of teaching at the university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you look young enough to have
Thank you.
only taught for a
Thank
couple of years
thank you. Thank you.
after having done all of the education too. Um, yeah, I'll be in say I'm right now I'm in New York City. I typically reside in Chicago area though. So, and then I'll be actually be in San Francisco starting on the 23rd of the month for a few days. So I share some of those connections. And I also grew up in Michigan. My dad lived in like the Ypsilanti area for quite
Oh,
a
okay.
while.
Mhm.
So I'm familiar with all these, except I haven't spent much time in Texas. I'd like to go. Louisiana maybe, but not Texas. Um, I just know it's terribly hot in various places in Texas. I went to like Denver or something, and I just remember going outside and being like, I'm on Mars. Like I feel like I'm on a different planet where it's toxic to be in the sun.
Sun and the humidity and the mosquitoes. And so
Yeah,
there's
it's
certain
crazy.
things do remember fondly about my childhood as far as the environment, but then there's certain things I really, yeah, it's funny, I've actually gotten used to the colder weather, but I appreciate that. Yet there's at least in my area, I've encountered less mosquitoes.
Mm,
The food is great in Texas, so that's one
mm,
thing. Just, and
mm.
you'll see a lot of my family, they all came from, my parents are from Louisiana and we're from Louisiana. And then, that's, I got used to, I grew up with Creole food, and that was kind of a staple in our household.
Nice.
So, yeah, I probably when I was, so a few years after my first teacher, I switched to a different teacher, and a lot of things changed, and so I began to experience being in a studio with people of different backgrounds, and so that was also a change. And so I learned some things on what to do as far as being a teacher, but then I also learned some things, frankly, on what not to do as far as being a teacher, and that's how you treat your students. And everybody comes from different backgrounds, different sectors of, but I just think, I think music is for everybody. And one of the things, it's always tricky to finding that balance between being honest with your students, and that's something that's important, and build that mutual trust. At the same time, sometimes yeah, it might mean having tricky conversations. But what I did learn, which affected me quite a bit, was to be told in so many words because I looked a certain way that I can't do X, Y, Z. So that motivated me very much. So that's also the context of what I grew up with. And so when I switched to this teacher, there were some things my playing improved a bit, but I was just so motivated. And so frankly, just had that just fire. And so that's when my practice increased. So it was typical in high school. By the time I got to high school, I was doing 8, 9, 10 hours a day if I wasn't playing in band. And on the week, so it was usually 5 hours a day on a week. I went to public school, Catholic school, then public school. So I was not homeschooled, and yeah, so that was I just had very much a one track mind, just practice, practice. I was obsessed, and so by the time I got to college, my first year, I was, oh, you mean I don't have to be in school from 8 to 3? This is great. So just go to my classes, but yeah, practice before, and so that's all I did. So it was a holidays didn't matter. I practiced.
Do you ever notice? I've had similar things. I remember when I was kind of deciding even to go to music school. I just remember in my whole household there were I won't get into the details, but there were folks, they would think, oh yeah, you're not going to be able to be that great. Even a music teacher once told me, like I was talking about, oh, I'm going to go study music, in college. She's like, I don't know if you could do.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm familiar with that. I'm curious if you ever felt like 'cause this happened to me where I felt like I needed something to push against. And then maybe certain things started to actually go my way, and it was like it was actually kind of a discomfort. It was uncomfortable. Didn't know the driving force, right, to kind of push forward once you kind of get to a certain place. It sometimes you have to find inspiration in different places. Do you feel like you almost need like something to push against, when to drive you to motivate you, or have you found other
Um,
ways?
it depends. If I'm speaking about what happened back then,
Hmm.
it just happened that way. There's sometimes I would actually not wish for some of this,
Right,
some of
right,
the conflict. But yes, I it just that's not what kept me practicing as far
right.
as being told what I cannot do.
Just a
I just
passion
loved it.
for
It
it.
just became this vehicle in which I could express myself. I could just sort of block off everything, and that part I love was very much an introverted kid. Very what's the word? Very straightforward, very kid intense. I was very intense kid. And so in that sense, that's not what kept me at the piano. But yeah,
Mm,
it was a lot. Actually, I would actually tell younger Rochelle, just take a few more breaks. Because
mm,
I would sit
mhm.
at the piano. No, and I was never forced to sit there from, let's say, summers, typical summer, like for example, high school before band camp started, 7 a.m. to like 1, and then 2:30, and then go another 4 hours. And I did that just as long as there was nothing else going on. It was just, I would say, take more breaks. I definitely encourage my students to do that. So
Mm,
I don't encourage that schedule. Do I have regrets? Absolutely not.
yeah,
But I was very much driven in that way. And it, yeah, as I said, it increased when I got to my undergrad. And then once I got to master's, it wasn't needed as much. But I still was practicing, but just not the full like 10 hours.
sure.
Thinking back, actually, I don't know how really that was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had Molly Gebrian on the program. She's a
Mhm.
musician who's studied like the neuroscience of practice. And she explained, how I mean it's much like a lot of things that we do that place demands on our system, exercise or study or whatever it is. I think we're becoming more and more aware that it can be disadvantageous if you don't have the break time, and she I forget exactly how she laid it out. It's actually pretty cool. She gave some example about like, walking through a path in the snow or something, and basically the concept is like your brain actually, the rest that you have, that's where your brain gets to go in and like, actually put the pathways down and solidify them. And if you don't give it the rest time to do that, it won't do it. Um, so yeah, I concur with you. I also spent some time spending hours and hours and hours. Yeah, if you don't know any better and you're very serious, that's what you do. So it's at least demonstrates your level of commitment. Um,
Sure, yeah, and I'm grateful that you had that was father who was very supportive of my my pursuits. So he loved music often. He was the one that took me to piano competitions and events of the like, or recitals. And I was also a flute player. I taught myself to play flute when I was about 12. And that's what led me to switch from Catholic school to public school, because in my area there was a better music program that was near me at the public school.
mm,
And so that was my social outlet, band. But then once I finished high school, I was okay, piano all the way. So I always knew that was still the path. The same, I was the same person that who saw the pianist on TV and thought it looked cool. I had no
do,
idea how my path would turn up, but I knew I
mm.
wanted to be a pianist.
Do you mind sharing some more context on the sort of um, obstacles that you encountered in terms of were people saying you can't do these things because you're not allowed, or you can't do these things because it's not the right, like people won't go for it, they don't want to see you be the professional, or any more details on how that manifested, right? In terms of you saying you
Um,
can't do these things.
well, So again, I don't want to make it seem like everything was negative because it was
No,
not.
but it's
But
useful to explore this. This is very specific. I'm just
yes.
curious if you share.
Oh, sure, of course. One of the things I remember, what was the sort of the driving force where I was sort of told in so many words that I can't um, do XYZ. I was having a particularly bad lesson and it wasn't going well, and that happens. And so, yeah, I hadn't practiced this way. There was a certain way to practice to be more. So I learned very much about efficient practice the more I went along. But anyway, this was a particularly bad lesson. And so the teacher, there was we would have our lessons, and then the person, whoever had a lesson afterwards, would wait outside in the foyer area. So there was a kid probably about 2 years, 2, 3 years younger than me. And okay, well, I'm gonna have, so he brings in this kid, and I'm gonna have this kid play for you. And that, uh, so the kid, he did not look like me.
Mm,
So that's what really was. So that was one thing.
okay.
But that's not what kept me going. But then the other piece, which a couple of years later, I was applying for a summer program at University of North Texas. They had a, I don't know if they still have it, but they had a high school piano institute at the time.
Mm,
So they needed a letter of recommendation. So my teacher, can you write? Okay, yeah, sure. And we'll even say, I'll send you a copy after I send it. Okay, so sends me a copy, sends us a copy. Of course, my parents saw it first of this letter that he sends to UNT. And in the second, after like a couple of sentences, like sort of the second full paragraph, Rochelle Sennet is, trigger alert, of the Negro race, and she has two parents, which are a rarity these days.
oh, okay. Oh my gosh. And that was in your letter.
Yeah, that was in
Oh,
the letter. I was 15 at the time.
do of course you know that person. What do you think the intention was somehow to be positive about that? Like, hey, give this person an opportunity or what? Or just kind of like just ignorance or what? What do you have any
I don't know.
speculation? You have no idea.
So I have ideas because everything was always about race,
Mm,
unfortunately.
right. It's just that what it was about.
This
Yeah.
person is this Asian family, this white family,
Hmm.
this black family, and we were using very dated terms. No one uses that really anymore. I
Yes.
use that. So that's the context. But I also think as a teacher, one thing that even if you grew up hearing certain words, you sort of have to sort of learn that oh, that's just how I grew up. That's still not okay.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I also got that that it was just these subliminal things that would happen. That his wife would come in. She was the organizer of this entire studio. She'd come in and make comments. Oh, so and so, this kid who is Chinese, this family who's Taiwanese, and we're just always about race. And so
Mm-hmm.
and in the context, you grew up just hearing that you're here, or you're here, whatever box. And if you don't fit into
Mm,
that box, and so just the misconception that about how people feel about two parents or one parent, I just and just associate as that's a bad thing, or oh, she has two parents, that's a rarity in these days. I imagine I would venture to guess I've never seen any of the ones he wrote for other students, but I venture
right.
to guess he probably would not have written something like that for other students, other
Right.
kids in the studio.
Right. Right. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I think
sure, of
it's
course.
important to for people to know, the details, right? What happens. Um,
I really don't wish some of that on any, no child should have to be made to feel different. And so
hmm
people say that, well, it shouldn't be about this. But when you grow, it just slaps you in the face and it just happens so frequently.
hmm
And that part was also, driving because I was determined, okay, I'm going to show you it does not matter what I look like.
hmm
But also what kept me going is because I love music, and that was
hmm
it.
hmm So fast forward to today, and you're working in the area of diversity, equity, inclusion there at University of Illinois. Is that a recent thing, or has that been part of your entire journey as an academic there? Or no,
Well, so I earned tenure in 2016.
congratulations.
Um, yeah, and I was promoted to full 2 years ago.
Hmm.
But when I was promoted to associate, got tenure. just like the week after, they were starting a new committee. It was called the Diversity Advocacy Team. Hey, you want to join this new committee? So it's been part of my work as far as actively serving in some way for the last 10 years. But I took on the role. So I was first started as a member, then it just became large because of the context that I shared. It's often painted that it's just this bad thing, but I think I just really don't. I feel very passionate about, regardless of what someone looks like, should feel included. And so fast forward to 2021, I took on a role as associate dean when a position opened up. I applied, and I was offered the position actually in April 2020. But it was, but I that's around the time when I was approved for sabbatical fall 2020 to start Bach to Black. And I didn't want to give that up, so it was moved. So I did my sabbatical, recorded volume one of Bach to Black, came back in spring 2021 and started the role.
Mm. Okay.
And
So
then 20,
it's
and then
been
Bach to Black one was released in June of 2021.
um can you I want to listen to some of your music as well. I think we'll share the Samuel Coleridge Taylor video in a minute, if that's does
Okay,
that sound good?
sure, sure.
Um, but just to continue the thought before then, um, y- how in terms of what you're seeing day to day and how this role what this role brings you, matters to address or students to engage with, specific um, you know, folks that seem to need more support than others. What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is my work has been the same, despite a lot of the conversations that we see on the landscape. But what I've enjoyed about the position these last 5 years is that I've gotten to speak with and collaborate with folks outside of music. So in the arts, because we have dance, we have theater, we have art and
Mm,
design, we have a Krannert Center, which is where I recorded the album. We have Krannert Art Museum, Japan House, sustainable design, architecture, landscape architecture, to name a few. Oh yeah, urban planning. So we have quite a large college. So part of the role involves, attending meetings with the larger administrative, the council, the group of the leaders, along with the College of Fine and Applied Arts leadership. So it's just great to just collaborate with, get to know people I probably would not have had the chance to speak to. And also, what got me interested in administration just in general is because I enjoy being on the stage, I enjoy recording, and I wanted to do more than that because I feel there's something bigger there than just being on stage. While, again, I love it very much, and by the way, I love recording process. Just had so much fun recording the entire series, Back to Black. Just so much fun, and just to have just I produced, meaning I chose what takes was going where, so I did all
mhm,
that myself, and then I worked with an engineer as well as the person who did the final mastering. But as far as the role is, when it comes to associate dean, there are a lot of the roles have increased on campus. The work continues regardless of what wording one uses. But really, again, what motivates when I'm hearing stories from students, faculty, and staff that this work is important, it's not about excluding anybody. Despite there's different conceptions, misconceptions about the word diversity, it's meant to include everybody,
mm,
and that just this recognition by many of us that I feel that, and I've experienced it myself, that where people have say it or not, had the experience of being treated a certain way because XYZ. I
mhm,
remember my father got mistaken for when we were at in Music Teachers National Association. I was at the regional competition. There's three levels, and This was in Louisiana, and so we had rehearsal time the night before, and then a contestant and his teacher came in afterwards, and it approached my father. Thought he was the janitor.
mm.
Just little things like that,
Yeah.
but just I just I love the work very much, and it's like leadership. It's not easy. because everyone doesn't agree on everything, and that's okay. But again, I wouldn't be able to collaborate with this many people at this scope if I were just still just as a professor in the School of Music.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a great institution. I know several people who went there, of course, haven't been from Chicago. And there's lots of wonderful things going on in Champaign in multiple domains. Um, let's check out this recording. Sound good?
The audio or the video?
The video, I
Okay,
thought
sure.
that'd be
Yeah, of
good.
course. Yes.
Any preface you want to make before we dive into it?
Well, you can find the actually if you are just hearing this, so you can see it on my YouTube channel. But also, this is all actually one of the suites that's included on in Bach to Black Volume One, along with a few other composers. And again, the Bach to
Okay.
Black, for those of you not familiar, that it involved me. I performed over 3 volumes, the English suites, the partitas, the French suites, and the French overture over 3 volumes. And each of the 19 suites I paired with a suite or multi-movement work by a Black composer. And so this is one,
And
the first one from was paired with the English suite number 5 in E minor. And so this
okay.
is its pairing.
Okay. And we can potentially sample multiple places or just
Oh, sure.
play excerpts of a couple of minutes. If we were going to check out a couple of minutes, should we start from the beginning? Should we do a little beginning, jump ahead? Or do you have any
I would say
recommendations?
number 3.
Number three? Okay. Does this give me a little menu or something?
Yes, it does. Yes, it scroll some more. That's number one.
Let me see what happens here. Oh, here we go. Here, Valse de la
Yes,
Reine.
that's the Queen's Waltz.
Okay. Let's check that out. Here we go. Lovely performance.
Thank you.
Like that one. Um, Tell me about sort of choosing these pieces and how you paired things together and you
Mhm.
know uh, how much of it was kind of a targeted project where you go in and sort of do some research and kind of
I
come up with
did.
everything versus but maybe I'm wondering like maybe some of these things came up through the years and you say, oh, I'll bring that in from the past, different exposures versus yeah, how'd you
Um,
put things together?
so Bach, a lot of the Bach I learned over the years, and so it wasn't like I was starting from scratch. And there's many people know JS. Um, I always like to say of JS because I think his sons were cool too.
Hmm.
But yes, I like to. So I obviously played Bach over the years, and as far as it started, okay, keys. There's a few things. But for example, with this pairing, it was E minor was the common thread. This movement, the one you just heard, was an E major, but yeah, the crux of it, first and last movement, are E minor. So that was the link with the fifth English suite. So a lot of involved a lot of research. There's certain composers I knew I wanted to include. I just didn't know where yet. So that was what I spent doing during the sabbatical, acquiring scores that I didn't quite have yet. Oh, this works great with this, and so the cool and so sometimes it just meant something completely different, telling a story. It might not be key related, but yeah, something that's going to sort of shock. For example, with one of the composers, Jeffrey Mumford, which is also in Volume One, this piece called Four Dances for Boys, and it's inspired by. It was originally choreographed, but yeah, this piano solo version. But it's inspired by the 1968 Loving, like 1967, yeah, 1967 Loving versus Virginia case, which made interracial marriage legal in this country.
Mm.
So just telling a story like that. So it was
Mm.
completely, but that's kind of a way to sort of shock, just kind of throwing in little messages in here and there. I knew that. So it's volume one started off. Let's just talk about. It was the goal was because I often found that the audiences were a lot of times not always the same. I find people who enjoy music by JS, Baroque, classical. People have are very invested in the thought process and have strong opinions about performance practice. And actually, I love that part.
Mm.
And then that's one audience, and then often audience. I also didn't want to relegate Black composers to just February. And so that's a different audience who, for various reasons, would not be interested in listening to music of the Baroque class, specifically J.S. Bach. And so the idea is to bring audiences together. And this is one way I did it. So that was volume. Let's just start the conversation. My part of encouraging more conversation. Volume two, let's talk about a few more women. And so added composers such as Florence Price and Amanda Aldridge. And then volume three, let's talk more. So added a few other additional composers as well for volume three.
Mm. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing about the process. Um, as we are piano technicians here, for from many parts, we saw the
Oh,
piano there. I'm just curious, your sort of exposure. I'm sure you know it. Has it been the same one technician on staff the
I'm
whole
glad
time
you asked this
there?
question. Oh yeah, that's quite a story. So volume one, so this is what it was recorded, during the throes of the pandemic. So a
Hmm.
lot of things were shut. So it was just me over in the hall, and then
Hmm.
separated was the engineers that worked out. But so I had I'm a Yamaha artist. And at
Okay.
the time, we did not own a Yamaha, so Yamaha Artist Services was very gracious to bring in a Yamaha, a different one, each time I recorded. And so it was stored there for months on end each time when I was recording. But so volume one involved three different technicians.
Oh.
One was their Yamaha technician they brought in from New York. They got special permission to bring him in. They basically rebuilt the piano because the piano had been sitting in storage for months in some warehouse in Tennessee. So it was had a few things that so basically rebuilt the piano the day before, and then he was there when things went awry, like the pedal started making strange noises, things like that. But yeah, it was great because I love. It's like someone gives you this really fancy car and then
Mm.
just says, "Okay, what do you want?" I was so spoiled. Oh my gosh, so spoiled. And then And then a second technician, also who lives in lower part of Illinois, was there. But then the crux of the work was John Miner, our technician here in Central Illinois. And then volume two was they brought in a Yamaha, one of Yamaha technicians from Illinois, and
Mm.
then John Miner did the rest of it. And then it was just all John Miner for volume three. So John Miner was the person but just it was his great. So we would have one session. He tuned typical sessions. First volume I had 8 sessions. Second one 7 sessions spread out, and then 7 sessions for the last volume. But it without the technicians, there's no way this would have been possible. And John knows, others know that I have a very soft spot for piano technicians. And I just it was very much a collaboration. And I love that part of the process too, very much. You get a little spoiled though. Like, oh, this note, can you bring it up a little bit? Or can you make it a bit brighter? Just things like just to have someone right there. I
Mm.
loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're making me think just to so I'm here in New York doing some tunings and I mean it's fascinating the varying levels of access that great artists get to pianos and their care, right? So I was just tuning for a Tony Award winning, here in New York, you could toss a rock and hit somebody who won some award, but Tony Award winning um, composer, performer, and it's this, it's a nice apartment, but small, spin it piano, not spin it. What would you call it? It's like a console. So it's a direct blow action. There's no concert grand. There's it had gone very sharp, even though it had been tuned 6 months previous, just because of its quality and like you have to you can't fit it anywhere else except right next to the air conditioner or whatever. And so it is a privilege, right? When you can have, well, you say, oh, well, there's that. This person had a sticky key and they didn't even mention it. Like, I don't even think they felt like they had the budget to be like, oh, there's a sticky key there. Can you fix it?
I should
I
mention all
did,
their
but
I should mention all
what's
their
it?
names. So the Yamaha technician, I think he's gone back to Japan, but at the
Oh, yeah.
time his name is Shane Hoshino, the
Okay.
first technician.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gone back to Japan. And then Craig Fehrenbacher was the
Okay.
other technician who
Yeah.
also he was the one who realized there was something awry with the keys with the first instrument. And then it was John Miner from there on out. But yeah, it's just he's John Miner's a technician that I've used that I've worked with for years. I trust his work. I have great respect for his work. And really, just without, I don't think PS pianists, more pianists should really appreciate the technicians and the collaboration that's involved. That would be, in order for this to work. So it's just two people who I felt are crucial: the engineers and the piano technician.
Mm.
And so we still and so by the time we got to volume three, it was a different piano. This was also had DC disc clavier capabilities as well, but it was
Mm.
just this piano was previously being used by Frederick Chu,
Mhm.
and whoever the technician was taking very good care of that over the 5 years he had it, and as I understand the story. But yeah, so the School of Music has actually just purchased this piano just last year, so very excited. That piano is actually a property of the School of Music. So excited. I had a certain vision as far as this. I wanted the specific sound of Cranard Center Great Hall on a
Mhm.
Yamaha
Mm.
and just yeah, this is so crucial. So I'm again very proud to, even as I listen to the record that even just that live performance, John Miner tuned for that instrument. That he was a longtime technician. So yeah, I could talk for days about my collaborating, just working with the technicians, and then just when little things happen, they just okay, let's do it this way. We'll make this. Let's try this, and that's the beauty of the recording process because there's flexibility. Okay, we have to shift. Okay, there's something goes wrong, or a buzzing noise happens, or just little minor things that happen along the way. But yeah, love it. Can't wait to do it again.
Do appreciate you calling out the names. I
Yes.
want to dive into a little bit of this. I'm sure it can be a little political, but I'm just because of a specific interesting topic, being an artist affiliated with a brand. How long have you been a Yamaha artist? Has it been?
Oh, great. So actually, just since 2020. However, my appreciation for Yamaha goes way back also. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So my first grand piano, I was surprised one Christmas when I was a kid. My first piano was a winter upright piano. So anyway, my first grand was a Yamaha. So it
Mm,
wasn't just simply, I'm just interested in this. And so I just remember when we went to my father, and then the technician would come and tune the piano for years. They were just really nice to my family, and I never
mm,
forgot it.
mm. Um, in terms of, oh, I'm sorry if I might have missed it. I was looking for maybe a number. How many years have you been a Yamaha artist again? I'm sorry if
Oh,
I
officially
didn't.
since 2020, so six
Oh,
years.
2020. There you go. Yeah, you said that.
Yes, officially,
Um,
yes.
and so I wanted to share this is because there's two things I want to just, we're going to wrap up soon, but maybe we can
Sure.
fit a little bit in here. Number one, I feel like I've definitely heard stories of people who are an artist of, a brand, Yamaha, Steinway, but they're going, what do I get here? Like they don't have some story that they got somebody shipped in a piano and they're getting it, prepared wonderfully with three different technicians for their concert or something like that. They're just like, I guess I thought I was, what did I get? Something. And then also just like the process of, some really great artists who's kind of like, how could I get affiliated with the brand? What does it take to become, I feel like it's happening less and less, like just that's the vibe I'm getting. But yeah, was it something where they approached you? Did you kind of have a little campaign? Hey, I'm gonna put the word out there. I'd like to be affiliated. How does that
Um,
work?
yeah, no, I reached out and they
Mm,
responded. I told them and I shared a photo of myself
hmm
at my piano, my first Yamaha when I was a kid. So there's a photo of me. Actually, it's on my website of when I was a teenager, and there's Yamaha, and I'm playing piano. And so I shared that photo with them, and then I shared other photos from a few years later of the same Yamaha. It's one of the G series, GH series. I don't know if they make those anymore, but yeah, it's one of the very small grands.
mm.
And yeah, that's how that happened.
Do you
And
remember if you knew like who to reach out to or why, or like was
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
like
So I
it
mean,
was
something I had been eyeing for a while because I knew there's a pianist by the name of Abadaj Pratt,
okay?
and who's also a Yamaha artist. And I was like, oh, and so I knew again very specific sound that I was looking for this project and I'd been
hmm
eyeing it for a while. So I figured, and so in 2020, it was when everything shut down. I was like, this is perfect opportunity because
mm
I knew I wanted somehow, which was impossible because we very much. I love Steinway very much. And by the way, I'm not paid to say this at all. Let me say that.
hmm
um, it's just, yeah, and my interest in the race is simply because it goes back a long way in terms of my family history. This was my
hmm
first brand
mm
that I owned, and but yeah, I had had that sound again, Yamaha. But I'm like, how am I going to get a Yamaha? There's no
hmm
Yamaha anywhere on campus,
mm
at a concert grand specifically.
hmm
And there was one in a couple in teaching studios, but I mean in classrooms, but they're old and terrible condition. But I mean a concert grand. So yeah, that's how I reached out, and they loved the story, and yeah,
mm.
let's do it. That's how it
Cool,
happened.
great.
Yeah,
That's great. I appreciate you sharing that.
sure thing.
I thought it might get complicated to actually fit in, but that was great. We got to like get a little taste of all the things I wanted an insight into. Um, Well, we should probably wrap up here pretty quickly. We'd like to end at the hour. I give a moment to the guests here that just share their own, final thoughts, words of wisdom, send, people to a link, but go buy a thing, attend this concert. What would you like to use the space for?
You can find Bach to Black. All three volumes are available either in CD format
Mhm.
through Parma Recordings. They acquired Albany Records, or you can find it on any of the streaming platforms. It's a digital. Also, you can go to music.youtube because there's a musicyoutube.com.
Mhm.
You could also find the tracks for all of those. So yeah, please feel free to check out the recordings. If you have the CD format, that's where you can actually see the program notes, which I wrote. But yeah,
Wonderful.
the listeners are different. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I had both platforms, both CD as well, physical as well as digital.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak with you, and congratulations on, yeah, getting some strong results for all the hard work you've put in, and all the lessons you've learned about how to make that work more efficient.
Thank you.
Uh, so we appreciate that. I'll do our little outro here. Then we usually just kind of end the Zoom call. But if you want to jump back on the Zoom link real quick, because you and me will have a quick wrap up and then
Okay,
we'll
sounds
be
good.
done for the day. So yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. This has been the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. And our guest for today, our live audience, really appreciate you guys giving your energy and your focus today. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that join us today by signing up for the session independently, you could make your life more convenient. Subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour, $16 a month. You get the direct access to each week's private session and recording of today's session in the member area. You could sign up at bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. Don't forget about the podcast, the Substack, the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Sign up for the email list on our website, spotechniciansmasterclass.com. Just your name and email. Okay, everyone, have a great day, and we'll see you again next week. Rochelle, I'll see you back